Fade in. The sun fractures across an endless sea, splintering into shards of turquoise and gold, as a lone banka boat slices through waves that whisper secrets of ancient coral kingdoms. Imagine this. An archipelago flung across 7,641 islands, more than enough to lose, a lifetime chasing horizons, where the world's deepest ocean trench plunges nearby, cradling mysteries deeper than the Marianas Abyss, and reefs teem with 600 fish species, half the ocean's known palette, in a single, sun-dappled park. This is the Philippines, a fractured pearl where volcanoes sculpt perfect cones from fire-kissed earth, and rice fields climb mountains like emerald stairs carved by hands that knew no machines. What unfolds when land and sea refuse to choose sides, when limestone cliffs cradle lagoons that glow like liquid jade, and colonial spires stand sentinel over streets alive with the clop of horse-drawn wheels? Here, every tide pulls you toward a story of resilient islanders who weave baskets from pandan leaves to hold the salt of survival, of festivals where drums beat like heartbeats under monsoon skies, inviting strangers into circles of shared adobo and laughter. Join us on this odyssey through the archipelago's pulse, from submerged shipwrecks guarding wartime ghosts to terraces that mirror the sky's own ambition. We'll drift over reefs where eagle rays glide like shadows in a dream, hike ridges etched by centuries of quiet defiance, and taste the smoke of street-side lechon under lantern glow. These are not mere destinations, they are chapters in a living epic, where nature's raw poetry meets the unyielding spirit of a people who call the sea home. As the camera pans across a horizon that bends but never breaks, feel the pull, the gentle, insistent call of waves lapping at your feet. The wonders await. Let the journey begin. Number 1. Tubbataha Reef's Natural Park. The liveaboard sways gently in the pre-dawn hush, engines silenced as the Sulu Sea unfurls its velvet cloak. Plunge into waters so clear they sting with clarity. Sunlight shafts pierce the blue, illuminating a cathedral of coral spires rising like forgotten minarets, fringed with anemones that pulse in rhythmic breath. Schools of fusiliers dart in silver unison, their flanks flashing like coins tossed to an underwater deity, while a gray reef shark glides past, its silhouette a fleeting brushstroke against the reef's textured canvas, rough with brain coral's labyrinthine folds, soft as the feather of a passing manta. Born from volcanic upheavals eons ago, Tubbataha emerged as a sanctuary in 1988. Its 97,000 hectares a UNESCO bastion since 1993, harboring 360 coral species and 11 sharks that prowl its atolls like guardians of a submerged empire. Fun fact, this park, remote in the Sulu's heart, sees just 500 divers yearly, its isolation a deliberate spell, ensuring the 100 bird species nesting on Jessie Beasley Islet remain undisturbed, their calls echoing across spray-misted sands at dusk. For the traveler, it's a descent into weightless wonder. Mask down, the world inverts, and time dissolves in the current's caress. Emerging, salt-crusted and sun-warmed on deck, you feel the reef's quiet vitality imprint on your skin, a reminder that beauty here demands reverence, not conquest. Snorkel the shallows for parrotfish nibbling algae in iridescent pops of turquoise and lime, or drift dive walls where turtles pivot with ancient poise. As the Samalbajau fishers say, the sea gives what it wills, but only to those who listen, shares a local ranger, his voice weathered like driftwood. In Tubbataha, listening means surrendering to the tide's murmur, emerging not just with memories, but with a deeper tether to the ocean's boundless archive. Here, beneath the waves, the Philippines reveals its first secret. Life thrives in layers unseen. Number 2. Puerto Princesa Subterranean River. Paddle strokes echo faintly in the cavern's maw, where the river's cool exhalation greets you like a forgotten sigh. Darkness yields to a subterranean symphony. Stalactites drip in crystalline cadence, their tips etching frescoes of calcium lace against vaulted ceilings that soar like a cathedral hewn from the Earth's own quarry. The air hangs thick with mineral tang, and as your banka glides deeper, walls close in, textured with moss-slick ripples, alive with the flutter of swiftlets whose wings brush the void like whispers from the stone's memory. This 8.2-kilometer waterway, emerging from limestone karsts into the sea, was the Philippines' first UNESCO site in 1999, a mountain-to-marine ecosystem cradling 800 plant species and the Philippine cockatoo's endangered trill. Carved over millennia by tidal surges and rain's patient chisel, it's a portal to prehistory. Fun tidbit, visitors once mistook its chambers for mythical realms, dubbing formations like the Virgin Mary or a candlelit choir, their shapes born from dissolution, not design. To wander here is to time travel in hushed awe. The boat's prow parts obsidian waters, revealing bioluminescent flickers that dance like fireflies in an underworld ball. Emerging into daylight, the karst peaks frame a mangrove fringe where egrets perch like sentinels, and the soul stirs with the thrill of secrets unearthed. Hike the canopy trails above for views of the river's serpentine path, or picnic on shores where the sea meets fresh current in a brackish embrace. The river remembers everything: the floods, the feasts, the quiet prayers of our Banaue elders, reflects a park guide from the indigenous custodians who manage this realm. In Puerto Princesa's depths, you don't just explore, you commune with the island's buried pulse, surfacing renewed, as if the stone itself has shared its ancient breath. Number 3. El Nido, Palawan. Dawn gilds the karsts as your outrigger slips from El Nido's harbor, the air spiced with frangipani and the faint brine of dawning tides. Towering limestone monoliths thrust skyward, their flanks veined with vine-draped crevices, cradling lagoons where water shimmers in gradients of emerald to sapphire, clear enough to trace the ripple of a single fish's fin. Cliffs echo with the cry of hornbills, and as you paddle into Big Lagoon, the walls enfold you, sheer faces etched by wind's patient sculpting, their bases lapped by wavelets that sigh against hidden coves of powdery quartz. El Nido's Bacuit Archipelago, a UNESCO-managed seascape since 2019, arose from coral uplift 20 million years past, its 45 islands a mosaic of sinkholes and bays shaped by tectonic whims. Tidbit: these formations inspired the movie Born Legacy, but locals whisper of Banaue legends where spirits dwell in the rock's folds, guarding the bay's bounty of sea grapes that burst like salty pearls on the tongue. For the seeker, it's a canvas of ceaseless revelation. Kayak the small lagoon's throat, squeezing through a fissure into turquoise seclusion, or snorkel Nakpan Beach's fringes where sea fans sway in current's ballet. The sun dips, painting karsts in ochre and mauve, and you linger on shores where sand yields like warm silk underfoot, the horizon a promise of untamed freedom. In our waters, every stroke of the paddle is a conversation with the ancestors, muses a Palaweño boatman, his calloused hands tracing the oar's curve. El Nido doesn't beckon with spectacle alone. It invites you to dissolve into its rhythm, leaving the clamor of the world for the quiet poetry of stone and sea. Number 4. Coron, Palawan. The sea exhales in lazy swells as your dive boat anchors above Coron Bay, the surface a mirror fractured by the dip of masts and regulators. Descend into a world inverted. Sunlight filters through turquoise veils, illuminating the Iraqo's hull, a colossal skeleton from 1944, its decks carpeted in Gorgonian fans that sway like silk banners in the current. Schools of batfish hover in geometric precision, their spots like ink dots on parchment, while bumphead parrotfish gnaw coral with gravelly crunches, scattering puffs of sediment like underwater dust motes. Sunk during the Battle of Leyte Gulf, Coron's 10 Japanese wrecks form Asia's richest World War II graveyard, their iron frames now artificial reefs teeming with 200 fish species and nudibranches in psychedelic hues. Fun fact, Kayangan Lake, a short hike away, plunges 200 feet through emerald strata, its shores ringed by limestone that locals say holds the echo of ancient shell middens from Banaue foragers. Diving here is intimate resurrection. Fin through the Olympia Maru's engine room, where portholes frame shafts of light piercing the gloom, or surface to Barracuda Lake's glassy calm, its halocline layering fresh over salt like a boundary between realms. On land, trek to Maquinit Hot Springs, where geothermal pools steam amid mangroves, the vapor curling like spirits rising from the bay's depths. The wrecks teach us to honor the fallen, turning sorrow into sanctuary, confides a Calamian diver, his eyes reflecting the water's dual soul. In Coron, you don't plunder the past, you immerse in its transformed grace, emerging with lungs full of salt and stories etched in the sea's forgiving embrace. Number 5. Boracay. Twilight drapes Boracay in a haze of palm silhouettes as White Beach awakens, 4 kilometers of talcum fine silica, warmed by day and cooled by evening's breath, where waves murmur against the shore in a perpetual hush. Lanterns flicker to life along the shoreline, casting amber pools on revelers swaying to ukulele strums, while the air carries the sizzle of grilled squid and the tang of calamansi squeezed over fresh quinoa. Parasails arc overhead like kites in a child's dream, their shadows skimming the surf where kiteboarders harness gusts, lines taut as bowstrings. Reborn post-2018, rehabilitation. Boracay's Aclinon roots trace to pre-colonial traders who prized its calm bays for beaching bancas loaded with spices. Tidbit: the beach's powdery allure comes from pulverized coral and shells, ground over millennia, nature's own hourglass, refilling with each high tide. To arrive is to surrender to sensory cascade. Body surf the gentle rollers that foam like rice milk, or wander Station 1's quieter curve at dawn. toes sinking into grains that gleam like crushed pearls. Night unfurls in Damal's labyrinth. Hop from craft beer taps to fire-dancing circles, where flames whip the salt-laced breeze into a primal dance. Here, the beach isn't just land, it's where strangers become family over a shared sunset, laughs a local bartender, pouring tuba from coconut husks. Boracay wraps you in its effervescent hum, a place where the line between repose and revelry blurs, leaving you sun-kissed and soul-stirred, ready to chase the next swell. Number 6. Siargao. The reef break roars at Cloud 9, a hollow thunder that vibrates through your board as the lineup swells, waves rearing like cobalt stallions, their crests feathering white before collapsing in thunderous applause. Salt sprays your face in crystalline mist, mingling with the scent of wet neoprene and distant frangipani, while palm fronds rattle overhead like nature's own cheer. Beyond the point, Magpupunco's tidal pools gleam at low tide, basalt basins scooped by lava's ancient fury, brimming with anemone stars and urchins that prick the shallows like ebony constellations. Siargao, declared the Philippines' surf capital in 2017, owes its waves to a fringing reef that funnels Pacific swells into perfect lefts, home to the Siargao International Surfing Cup since 1980. Fun fact, the island's name derives from Sigara, a Visayan term for the saltwater-loving wood that once built its boats, now repurposed for surf shacks lining the coast. Riding here is communion with chaos. Drop into a tube where the world narrows to green light and roar, or ease into Pacifico's mellow rites for a meditative glide. Inland, paddle through Del Carmen's mangroves, their prop roots arching like arthritic fingers over mirror-still channels, alive with the plop of mudskippers and kingfishers' sapphire flash. To surf Siargao is to learn the island's lesson. Fall, rise, and let the sea forgive, shares a Waray guide, waxing his board under coconut shade. Siargao doesn't demand mastery. It offers the raw joy of motion, etching resilience into your bones amid the archipelago's untamed fringe. Number 7. Chocolate Hills, Bohol. Mist clings to the 1,268 hillocks at dawn, their grass-clad domes rising in symphonic array, perfect cones etched by erosion's subtle hand, from limestone seabed thrust skyward 10 million years ago. Ascend the viewing deck at Carmen, where the air hums with cicada chorus and the faint, loamy scent of earth after rain. Below, the landscape rolls like a rumpled quilt, verdant in wet season, parched to cocoa tones by March's dry kiss, when the hills earn their name. Legend whispers of Orogo, a lovelorn giant whose tears for unrequited love petrified into these sentinels, or rival titans hurling mud in forgotten wars. Geologically, they're karst remnants, a UNESCO tentative site since 2006, neighboring the Philippine Tarsier Sanctuary, where wide-eyed primates cling to branches, their velvet fur absorbing moonlight like nocturnal sponges. For the wanderer, it's a pilgrimage of scale. Hike the trails between mounds, boots sinking into red clay paths fringed by wild orchids, or cycle the loops where butterflies alight on your shoulder like living confetti. At peak bloom, the hills pulse with fireflies, transforming dusk into a bioluminescent reverie. As the Boholanos say, the hills teach patience, they rise slow, but stand eternal, intones a local farmer, his bolo knife glinting as he trims beetle vines. In these mounds, time folds upon itself, inviting you to pause amid the archipelago's sculpted serenity, where myth and geology entwine in enduring harmony. Number 8. Banaue Rice Terraces. Clouds part over the Ifugao highlands, revealing terraces that cascade like jade waterfalls down Batad's amphitheater. Stone walls, hand-hewn over 2,000 years, channeling rainwater into mirror-flat paddies where rice stalks sway in wind's gentle prod. The air bites crisp with pine and wet earth, mist veiling the valley like a bridal shroud, while distant caraballos low in bass echoes that reverberate off moss-draped dikes. Wooden granaries perch on stilts, their thatched roofs exhaling the faint, nutty aroma of ripening pale. Crafted by Ifugao ancestors without beast or wheel, these eighth wonder steps, UNESCO listed since 1995, sustain a culture where hudhud chants honor the harvest, epic tales sung in polyphonic weave during planting moons. Tidbit: each terrace holds a microclimate, fostering heirloom rices like Tinabdan, whose grains burst with flavors of mountain dew. Hiking here is ancestral dialogue. Descend the 500 steps to the valley floor, calves burning on slick cobbles, then ascend via vine-laced paths where Ifugao elders pause to share bulul rice gods, their wooden forms weathered to ebony sheen. Bathe in the overflow's chill pools, skin prickling under spray that tastes of minerals and memory. The terraces aren't just fields, there are veins, pulsing with the blood of those who came before, affirms an Ifugao weaver, her loom clicking like rain on leaves. Banaue binds you to the land's laborious grace, a testament to hands that tamed the vertical, fostering a quiet pride in every emerald rung. Number 9. Sagada. Fog swathes the limestone cliffs of Echo Valley at first light, where coffins dangle from precarious ledges like weathered birds' nests, carved from hollowed pine, their lids sealed with ancestral script, swaying faintly in the updraft's sigh. The air thrums with pine resin and damp stone, a raven's croak punctuating the hush as you traverse suspension bridges that creak over the gorge, the valley below a tapestry of ferns and wild ferns unfurling in emerald coils. This Kankane rite, practiced for centuries, elevates the dead to commune with spirits. Only the worthy, their bones bleached by cave winds, earn suspension over the earthly coil. Fun fact, Sumaguing Cave's chambers, linked by squeezes and streams, boast formations like the King's Curtain, a drapery of calcite that locals say weeps for the unburied. Spelunking summons primal pulse. Lamplit, you belly crawl through formations slick as oiled silk, emerging into vaults where the river's gurgle amplifies to subterranean roar. Then hike to the coffins via trails lined with echo pines, voices bouncing back in ghostly chorus. In Sagada, death isn't end. It's a bridge to the gods, hung high so souls touch the stars, murmurs a local elder, his pipe smoke curling like valley mist. Here, amid the suspended and the subterranean, mortality softens into mystery, urging you to live with the coffin's quiet defiance. Number 10. Vegan. Lampions sway in the breeze along Calle Crisologo, casting golden halos on Cape's shell windows that rattle softly in their wooden frames. Ancestral homes of coral stone and terracotta tile, their facades a palimpsest of Spanish galleon ports and Chinese merchant guilds. Horse-drawn calesas clop over uneven stones, bells tinkling like distant chimes, while the air weaves scents of garlic longanisa sizzling on street griddles and the faint, floral ghost of ilang-ilang from hidden courtyards. Founded in 1572 as a Hispanic entrepot, Vegan's Mestizo District, UNESCO gem since 1999, blends Baroque arches with Oriental roof curves, its plaza pulsing during Binatbatana Panag. Abel Iloco weavers parade textiles dyed in earthy ochres, threads singing of pre-colonial looms revived. Tidbit, the Calisa parade in Maydex carriages with Lanzoni's fruits, a harvest nod to the town's empanada capital status, where flaky pastries cradle papaya and mung bean in savory embrace. Strolling evokes temporal drift, hire a Calisa for a clip-clop tour past St. Paul's Metropolitan Cathedral, its belfry tolling vespers, or sup in a convent-turned-cafe on Bagnet crisped to shattering crunch. The evening market hums with haggling over Bernay jars, their clay etched by potter's wheels. Vegan holds our mestizo heart, Spanish stone, Chinese ink, Filipino fire, smiles a Calesa driver, reins loose in veined hands. In this preserved tableau, history isn't relic, it's the very rhythm underfoot, inviting you to trace the archipelago's layered lineage.